Hey guys, what's growing? It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Today it's harvest day and it's fixing irrigation. So it's Monday. It's warm today. Yesterday we hit almost 80 degrees and today we're gonna come close again and then we're gonna have a cool down, but not much of one. So we are fully in the season now, the growing season. Everything is as it should be. So I'm catching up. If you saw yesterday's video, I got the zinnias all planted in that row. I need to water in here. Boy, now that it's warm, these seedlings dry out in one day. So I have to keep the water cycling in all of these guys. And I desperately need to harvest. There are so many flowers blooming in the greenhouse right now. I mean, in the hoop house, which is not really great. I want to get them in bud stage, not in full bloom, but it is what it is. But first, I need to go address that irrigation issue that I talked about yesterday. I think if I cap off the mainline tubing that's going to the upper field that's now under a silage tarp, I know there is a major break in the tubing up there because I did it by accident when I was weeding. So if I cap that off, because it doesn't need water under that silage tarp, and then it will only be going to the lower bed, it should fix the problem, I hope. So let's go take care of that right now. All right, so you can see here, I'm gonna have to be careful because I don't know what's under here and I'm not wearing gloves. This is the mainline tubing right here that feeds this bed, and it comes off. Wow, look at the size of this earthworm. That is crazy. You're huge, dude. Look at that. That's nuts. All right, sorry, buddy. Okay, so I need to find, there is a line that comes from the hose pipe up at the front by the greenhouse, all the way out here to this. I've hooked it into this main line and then it tees off and goes up. So I need to just keep pulling this back till I can find that tee. There it is. All right. So what I need to do here, this will be pretty simple, is cut this pipe up here so it doesn't feed the top. So I'm going to cut it right here, and to seal it off, all you have to do is, this is a fitting, it's like a figure 8. So you put it over the top, you bend the tube, you stick it back in, that's crimped off, done. And then we'll just put back the tarp, because this is all for weed suppression. Ouch, I got thistle poked. Okay, so that should fix the problem, at least I hope. Okay, so over here I have, this is the timer for those beds. This is the timer for all the drip tape that I have, but this is for the just regular drip tubing. So I'm gonna put it on manual for 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna reset these after that's done. So I just heard it click on. So that means there should be water running through. I sure hope. And we can see if it's gonna start coming out of the tubing. So I can hear the water starting to pressurize in here, and I do see it starting to come out. I think that part of the problem is just too much, because it's dripping in some places. And I can hear it trying. So like here's, it's working too. I can hear it. Let's come in here and see. Some of it's buried. That could be some of the problem. might also just be taking a while to pressurize because I can hear it moving. And it's coming out here. Has to come far. There's more of the tube. This is the main line here. And I can hear it running in there. It's just not doing a great job of coming out of all of the drip irrigation, which means it's probably just really clogged with sediment. But we'll see once it gets all the way pressurized. So much further down the line, I am seeing it dripping. I think that it's just a clog issue. I think there's just too much buildup of minerals in the line, and it's just not allowing the water to go through. Because it is running. This is cold. This is the tubing that's carrying it. This one's hot because it's not carrying any water. And it is coming out of a very few of the emitters. So the hard part about that is that I probably need to buy drip tubing again and rewire the all these beds. Even though that doesn't make fiscal sense, that's the only way I'm going to be able to get my stuff watered, I think. It really stinks. So it's many hours later, and apparently it's irrigation day today. It took me a long time to harvest at the farm, and then I had like child pickup and stuff. I still haven't even eaten lunch yet, so it's been a little busy. But I figured before I start making bouquets, I would come out here and start addressing the irrigation stuff that I need to do in the home garden. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. I need to get irrigation to the sweet potatoes in the stock tank, and I'm also going to complete irrigation to an area where I'm actually going to put a fig tree. So yeah, lots of stuff to look at. Most of that it's not necessarily garbage, it's not unused, I just haven't put it away yet. So if you see here, I've unburied it for a minute. This is mainline tubing, and this comes from way up at the top at the header, and off of this runs little tubes to feed all of these thornless blackberries, right? So they each get their own water system, their own water spigot. So the tubing runs down this way, and it's connected right here just by accident, because this was additional tubing I had, to drip tape, which normally I would just cap it off there. But since this already has the drip on it, and this is a peony, and this is a peony, and this is a peony, I figure I might as well let the drip run through here. These are all yarrow, so all of this stuff will benefit from the water. So I'm gonna let it run through here. I will cap it off right here. Actually, probably more like here, because I'm gonna use this space to put the big fig tree that we have in our backyard that's been in a pot forever. I'm gonna dig a big hole there and put the fig tree. Capping off this tubing is real easy. You can buy special plugs for it, or you can just do it yourself. So there's an emitter right here, there's an emitter down here. I'm gonna cut before the next emitter. Okay, so I have cut off the end here, and what I'm gonna do, the emitter's down here, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna block that. I'm gonna take this tubing and I'm gonna fold it twice. And then I've cut off another piece of tubing, it's hollow. I'm just gonna fold this like this. Slip this in here. And now the end is sealed and no water will come out except for the final emitter. Now to do this tub here, we have to do something a little bit different. So the tools I'm going to need are this 1/4 inch tubing, a punch that comes with these kits, 2 or maybe 3 of these little sprinkler heads. I think 2 will be more than enough. 1 elbow joint and 2 T connectors. This 1/4-inch tubing is solid, there's no emitters in it. So we're gonna connect this to the mainline tubing. Let's go do that. Okay, here is the mainline tubing. All I have to do is poke a hole. That's what these punches are for here. We're gonna poke right in there. And then I'm gonna insert this, actually what I'm gonna do first, to make it a little easier on me, is I'm going to put one end into the 1/4-inch tube. This is an elbow joint here. It's a lot easier to work these tubings when they're warm because they're more pliable. Okay, and then poke this in here. There we go. All right, so now we unspool the tubing and let's go to the sweet potato bed. All right, so I'm gonna tack down this tubing later, but for now, we're gonna get enough to come in here. I can put staples on this, earth staples, so that it stays in place. But now we're going to cut the tubing. And I'm taking this T connector here, putting it on one end, and then this is what we're attaching now is going to be the little piece of tubing that attaches to the sprinkler head. Okay, so I'm just going like this. I'm going to cut off just a little bit. Okay, then we attach the sprinkler head. Okay, and then we attach the other side to the tubing so we can continue this route. Pop this guy in here. And then do the same thing here. Get our little T connector. Okay. All right. And now we just need to cut off the end and plug it. So this is called a goof plug. It is for if you make a mistake. Hang on, let me fix the, I want to get a nice straight cut right across. There we go. So this, if you make a mistake while you are poking into mainline tubing, you can put it in, or if you want to close off the end here, there we go. This goes here. And now, once I staple all this stuff down, we've got irrigation to this bed. These are adjustable. You can open them up all the way, or halfway, or whatever. It'll give you either a wide or a small stream. So once it's running, you just decide how much of a stream to make sure you cover everything, and then you're good to go. Okay, the next thing I need to do is test that, but because it's on the same zone that the whole, what used to be the flower farm, but is now going to be the vegetable garden, is on, I'm going to turn that on because we are having some kind of leak somewhere, and I'll show you why. This is pine shavings that I didn't have to use for the chickens that I've put down. It was fresh yesterday. It's sopping wet. Now granted, it's been wet here from the rains, but it got even more boggy overnight, and I don't know why. The only reason would be that we have a leak somewhere, and it's a pretty big one. So my suspicion is that somewhere on this mainline tubing here, there is a cut or a slice. I will also check to make sure none of these headers None of the valves, I mean, all the valves are open, but I'll make sure that none of them have a major leak, and there's no major gush from any of the drip tubing. But generally when you see that kind of water, it's from the main line. So I'm going to turn on the system, turn on that valve, and stand down from it downstream and see if we can see what's going on. We use, we have a Rockio system, which is a 15 zone system. So these are all of our zones. And then what I need to do is, it's called the cut flower garden, even though it isn't anymore. I need to do that, have quick run, and I'll do it for, say, 10 minutes so that I can figure it out. I can always pause this. And it's going to take some time. I mean, I heard the valve start, but it's going to take a little time for this to all pressurize and come down. So it'll give me a chance to start to inspect. We have a lot of pressure behind this system, so we have a pretty big flow reducer up there to keep it, because otherwise it would just blow out the back ends of these hoses. All right, so they're starting to pressurize. I can hear it filtering through. And because we are on a public water here at the house, we don't have any calcium buildup or anything crazy in here. So I have been using these, this drip tape for years. Literally, I just don't ever take it up. If I ever get a break in it, like a hole or something, I just cut that part out and put in a connector. So here it's a great use of the drip tape, because I'll use it until it completely breaks down. All right, so I can hear it starting to pressurize. Haven't seen it coming out yet, but this is also going to give me a chance to check to see if it works on the sweet potatoes. So let's head down there. Yep, it works, but clearly we need to up the flow. And this will get bigger as the pressure builds in the system, because it's still building. Plus we're downhill here, so yeah, see that they're starting to get bigger as the pressure builds. So it doesn't have to touch every plant. It's going to saturate the soil enough that they will get plenty wet, plenty of moisture, and the roots will seek out the moisture as well. We're on a downslope here, so once everything starts dripping out here at the end, which it is, that means that it's all pressurized. Let's go up to the top and see if we can find where this might be leaking. Sometimes you'll get little fountains coming off of these, off of the drip tubing, and you know that you've got a little slice or cut, and that's what's causing it. But so far I don't see anything. Okay, so I see like mist in the air coming from somewhere. Okay, here's one. See that? That's super tiny though, and I can totally fix that. Fix that. The nice thing about using these valves is I can turn off this valve easily. There we go. So this is going to close all the water. It'll stop flowing in a minute, and then I can fix it without having to turn the entire system off. That's why I like having these valves on at the top of everything. So I'll fix that little hole, which basically I can just tape, wrap a bunch of tape, and it'll be fine. But I'm still not seeing any major, gushers that would explain why we're having a swamp in here. Okay, I see another little pinprick hole right here, so I'll just have to come through and fix that with some tape as well. But that's not enough to saturate everything. So I think, the good news is there's no major cuts or breaks anywhere. It might just be that last amount of rain that we had just saturated the soil so much that it just can't dry out, and the pine shavings are doing what they're supposed to do, which is soak up fluids. That's what they would do in the chicken coop. So I'm going to give it a couple days and see, but I don't see any sign of anything gushing, so I'm not wasting water anywhere. Everything is getting water where it needs to get water. So yeah, I'll just keep an eye on it. irrigation systems, whether they're like that with drip tubing and stuff like that, or even in-ground irrigation systems put together by professionals, are never just a one and done. You should always check your system in the springtime once, especially if you are in a place where the ground freezes. Check all the emitters, all the sprinkler heads, make sure everything's working, because sometimes if you're not really spending any time with it, you won't know when there's a major problem, and then all of a sudden you get a water bill and it's huge, and then you got to figure out what's going on. So avoid that. Avoid drowning your plants or starving them of water by just doing a check of your irrigation system, making sure everything's working, and then fixing what isn't before the season really gets into swing. That way you're all set and you're good to go. Bouquets are made. It's dinner time. I'm gonna go get stuff set up, take a shower, and get this edited so I can get it up for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tomorrow, we're gonna be putting together hanging baskets. I'm delivering in the morning, but it's not my long delivery day, so I should have some time to, work on getting other projects done around here. And maybe hanging baskets, and then also maybe the back garden tour for April. I've been trying to get that kind of cleaned up a little bit because it was looking horrendous. So hopefully we can fit that in tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.